and welcome to What's Next. I'm your host, Emma Arnold. Today we have a very funny comedian who is also a biomedical engineer and an actor and a writer. She's one of my favorite people on Twitter. She's so funny. Please welcome to the podcast, Pallavi Gunalan. Hello. Thank you for being here, honey.
Thank you for having me.
I am so excited that you're here. I've loved, how long have you been doing stand-up?
It was 4 years in August, but I don't count this year.
Oh, yeah. I can't believe you've only been doing it 4 years because my guess was going to be 8 because you're very funny. Your writing's already so tight. You have a lot of confidence, so that's great. That's amazing.
I am old.
That helps. Older. Yeah.
So I started when I was 27. I'm 31 and I'm dead inside. So that's good for writing because then what do you have left to lose,
Yeah. That's funny because I think I see you tweet about dating quite a bit, and I always I feel for my women friends in LA so much because all of my friends in LA think that they're old, and it's because LA is broken that way where they're I'm 31 and anybody you date is 42 and is I only date women who are 24 and Instagram models. So
it's so gross. I even on TV shows, I'm stop putting this in our faces. I was watching the last season of Glow, and one of the main characters. Do you watch that?
Yeah, I love that show.
I forget all the names of all these people, but the blonde lady, she was dating. She found love with the oldest dude.
Yeah,
and I'm I don't want to see it anymore. I know it happens. Please stop. Please make it not okay in media for us to just only find someone who values us as older dude. I love that I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but it doesn't end dreamlike. She follows her dream, her passions or whatever. But still, I'm just why was that the most stable relationship with a 60, 70-year-old?
Yeah.
I hate that.
I know. And every time somebody's I can't remember what we were just watching, but it was they cast this, 50-year-old Hollywood guy, and they're is someone age appropriate who was 31? And I have so many
so annoying.
I opened for a comedian for a while who was in his 50s, and he would do that. He would be I'm dating someone pretty age appropriate, and I would be this person is still 18 years younger than you. That's not how old do you think you are?
He's she's not 12.
Yeah,
so she pretty. Give me a pat on the back. I also was friends with this 50-year-old comedian, and I found out he started dating his ex / I don't know if he was cheating on her when she was very young, and I don't know, it was he wanted to collaborate. He was a lot bigger than I am, social media wise, everything in the industry, because he's fucking 50.
Yeah.
And I was just I can't co-sign this. This is weird. It's so you were Seinfelding.
Yeah.
Dating her when she was in high school and you were in your 30s. No.
Yeah. Yeah, this friendship kind of ended with us similarly just because honestly, I aged out. He was one of those male comedians who has a soft harem. We didn't have sex, but he always had a group of young women
from a group of beautiful young women.
And as that worked when I was a young up and comer and was oh my God, you're amazing. You're so talented. And then when I started to come into my own and be confident on my own and have my own opinions on things, then it was kind of oh, well, I only hang out with features. So off you go.
That's so stupid. And you can totally tell when it's happening. Mm-hmm. You're I have the opposite, actually, a thing that happens, and I think it's a fetish thing. I will, within 30 seconds of meeting a booker or producer, it's usually older white dude, right? 40s, 50s, whatever. And I'll be oh, you're being racist. I'll just, they'll make a joke, and I'm that shit's racist. You're being racist, or whatever, And I'm not, I'm, saying it with a smile because I just do that, but I'm telling them that they're racist, and they have this moment where they're you got spunk, kid. Want to do my show? And I'm what is going on? Yes, because fuck you, but, what is happening?
Mm-hmm.
And it's happened a bunch, and I think it happens on Twitter, too. White people and men will follow me, disagree with shit that I say, but then still follow me because they think I'm funny. on the other things. Like, literally, I have a screenshot of someone calling me in my DMs a reverse racist, and then like a day later is like, these jokes slap though. Like,
oh my
literally,
God.
literally doing that, and I'm like, what? I don't want to appeal to you, but also I am funny.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's weird. I wonder what that is. Like, I don't know.
Part of it is they want approval from a queer brown woman right now.
Yeah.
And so they want to be like, she's my friend. But part of it, I think, is like a lot of white guys have like a weird, like, I don't want to say weird, but like a domination thing, not just in the bedroom, but like in the rest of their lives, where they're like, oh, like this is gonna like, I don't know, it does something for them. And it's just like, it weirds me out.
No, I know what you mean, because I get that when I like call someone out. Sometimes I'll humiliate someone for being sexist, and they just are like, they're there for more and more. They're just like eating it up, and they're like, do it again, and you're like, oh, and they're not. I know people will be like, they're trolling. They're not. They're like, they're specifically to be humiliated by you.
Yeah, it's weird, and I'm like, don't trick me into this.
Yeah,
like, I'll do it because that's what I do normally. But like, I don't want you to enjoy this.
Yeah. And if you are, it's $2.50 an hour. So
for real. I remember I posted a thing on. I have like the Fan House app, so I like interact with people there. But I posted a thing on there about it a little bit. But I was on OkCupid for a little bit back when the messages were open. And anybody could message you, and it was fucking awful. But I got so many of like, you have a dominant personality. I can't tell you how many DMs start with, you have such a strong, dominant personality. And then they'd be like, how tall are you? Like trying to get me to like be a dom or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I get a lot of that too. And it's always funny to me, which is funny because nobody's ever asked how tall I am, but people are often very shocked how short I am in person.
How tall are you?
I'm 5'2".
I forget. Oh yeah, you were tiny.
I am tiny, but when I on stage, a lot of times I'll get off stage and be like, hawking merch or whatever, and people are like, "Whoa, you look really tall on stage," and I'm like, "Nope, just a tiny little gnome of a person."
Yeah, it's the thing that like a lot of short girls have this thing where they're like, I don't know, everybody just thinks I'm like so tall, and it's like, okay, you're loud, like that's that's what you're saying.
Exactly.
All you're saying is you're loud. But with you, it's like you're a comedian, so people think that everybody thinks
you look big. You look bigger on stage,
or on camera or whatever.
Yeah.
Or and I'm mean things to say. Yeah. If you talk back, then you're like, you grow in height, I guess.
I have tall girl energy. I feel like I have that, like I could be 5'8",
That's exactly 100% what short girls say all the time. But it's true. I mean, yeah. I think it's the opposite is true with guys. The more rage they have, the shorter I think they are.
Yeah. It's like, if you can find a short man who's just like, as far as straight men go, I like a short man who's totally chill with it, and a bald man who just accepted it a long time ago. Like, that's what I'm into.
I'm thinking about your exes, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But that's good. That's like emotionally stable.
Yeah.
I do not do that, so I want to know what that's like.
Oh, definitely none of my exes were emotionally stable, for sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is more like my current straight man arrangement.
Oh, nice. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. We've learned. We're
learning.
Have.
Yeah. It's taken me a while, but I feel like I'm making progress.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, we want to dive in?
Sure.
So I sometimes prep people with the questions. I sometimes don't. So if you have more than one answer for the first one, just go, just whatever comes to your mind, or if you have like a couple short stories or whatever. So, what is the closest you've ever come to dying?
Okay. So I have sleep apnea, but I didn't know that I had it.
Oh.
And I was at Carnegie Mellon doing my master's, and it was finals week, and it was also like the week of all of our dance performances because I was in the dancer symposium there. And my ex surprise visited me on a Wednesday night, and I had been Red Bulling and coffeeing and just super like caffeinated, not sleeping and everything. That night I go to bed. In the morning at like 6 a.m. he notices I'm face down and not breathing properly.
Whoa.
And he tries to like wake me up, and he's having a really hard time waking up, and I am in my dream like fighting to be awake. Like it was so hard to wake up. Like I knew I needed to be awake, and I couldn't like get conscious. It was like so scary. It was, I've heard of people like lucid dreaming or sleep paralysis, but it was like beyond that. And then I woke up and I was like so sick and disoriented and nauseous, and I was like, I have to go to the doctor, like something is wrong. And we go and we go in there, they give me like an IV and they take like a drug test or like a blood test, and then the doctor comes in and is like, you have exhaustion. And I was like, oh, you're saying I'm talented because only like Mariah Carey gets exhaustion.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, this is incredible. Run me my money. But then she's like, and there were opiates detected in your system. And I was like, what? And I freaked out because I'd been like, I was kind of like in isolation then because it was like finals and all this other shit. My research deadlines that I was dealing with. And I was like, who drugged me? I've only been getting bagels and going to the grocery store. And I went to my friend's place. Did my friends drug me? Like, I was freaking out. And she was like, asked if I had like smoked anything. And I was like, well, that was like a month ago. Like, I was like, nothing happened. And she was like, well, opiates are often found in weed because they get cut in the same places. And she was like so condescending and so rude, and I was just freaking out. And then I was like super out of it. And my boyfriend, as we were checking out, he was like, did they take the blood test after they gave you the IV with the painkiller? And they asked the nurse, and like they had drugged me. Like, it was,
oh my
like,
God,
them giving me the painkiller and then shitting all over me and making me feel like a crazy person. And I was like, and I talked to my like family members who were in med school and stuff, and they were like, oh yeah, there are a lot of people in med school who like smoke and drink and do all that stuff, but they totally judge people who come in because they think that they're drug addicts or something. And I was like, this is so weird. And also, like, I was like, it was my student insurance and stuff, so like there is some level of vetting or something, you know what I mean? I don't know. But that was crazy. And then I was just afraid to fall asleep. It was like Freddy Krueger. I was like, I don't know if I nap if I'm gonna wake up, because I almost didn't last time. And then it took me a while, and I went to like sleep doctors, and I got some stuff checked, and I did a sleep clinic, and I have sleep apnea, and I now have a CPAP that I never wear because my nose is like, it makes you have to wear it over your whole face, because I can't wear just the nasal pads, which are apparently much more comfortable, because my nose is fucked up. Oh. Like, I have a big ass nose, which is fine and okay. I've come to embrace it because fuck racists. But it doesn't work. I can't smell. I have enlarged shit inside there and like a deviated septum, and so I can't like breathe or smell properly through my nose. So I have to do the whole face mask thing.
Oh God!
And then I just don't wear it, and it's really bad because you have to like you get worse sleep until you hit a point where you get comfortable with it. So I'm just like, I'd rather get like bad sleep, but not worse than I have now. Yeah. And it's just not. It's not good though, because it's bad for your lungs and your heart and stuff, because you don't get oxygen.
Yeah. Yeah, sleep apnea is serious. It's very serious.
Oh yeah, it's real bad. And I like still choke awake sometimes. I have to sleep on my side now, which like figuring that out made it like way better. You know, I was like, oh, thank God. Like it was like I was choking awake way less after that. But yeah, it's explained a lot of like my brain fog and like why I'm tired. I would get in like fights with my ex because I felt so awful, and like he didn't understand how like I couldn't express myself. Like you get into baby mode where like you don't have the words. Your brain is so tired that you don't have the words. And I didn't feel like my habits were that different from other people. I mean, I am like extreme with my sleep, but like there were other people who were able to do that better. So I was like, what's like, why can't I do it? And then I just like wasn't taking care of myself. But that's like that waking up out of that, I was just like, oh, like it's so, I'm like my body, I'm such an idiot. I can't even sleep right. Like I can't even take naps properly. I don't know.
Oh man, that sounds terrifying because yeah, like you said, like I have sleep stuff too. I've since I was a kid, I was molested at night a whole bunch. So for me, going to bed, and I didn't realize it till I was much older and in therapy. And I was like, I mean, I'd had extreme insomnia my entire life. And I would, as soon as I got in bed, get into flight or fight. And I would start, my heart would be pounding, and I'd be laying there like, well, I can't. I would, for years of my life, I slept 2 or 3 hours a night. And then when I started getting a lot of really intense therapy, they were like, well, yeah, that makes sense that you would obviously have a hard time falling asleep at night. And now I have like seasonal, like now it's better and I have like seasonal, but I basically don't sleep all of November and December. Like as soon as like October, November, December, as soon as the days start getting shorter, my body is just like too much dark. I don't know if it's, my mother's side of the family is Swedish and I feel like that's a Swedish thing. Just like, we got to stay awake. We got to stay busy. It's dark.
Oh, interesting.
It's scary. I don't know. It's some genetic thing because my whole family is like that. Nobody sleeps at night all winter. So, yeah.
Oh man.
And sleep apnea is terrible because I've had a couple partners with sleep apnea, and you just don't know what it's like until you are like laying next to somebody who is choking to death, like as they're sleeping. They're just like,
because our body's trying to like choke us awake so that so that we'll wake up and start breathing again. So then you just like never really sleep, and then you wake up and you're like, I woke up mad today. I tweeted, I woke up mad again because I'm angry. I woke up angry.
Yeah.
I'm like, I sometimes take like melatonin because like I did a web series where I talked about it in one of the episodes, but it hasn't been like proven. Your body makes it, but it hasn't been proven to necessarily help people with like regular sleep schedules already, but it has shown some promise with people who don't have regular sleep schedules or have sleep issues. So when I take it, it really does help, but you have to like be able to schedule 8 to 10 hours of sleep so you aren't like a drowsy motherfucker the next day. And I rarely do that. I rarely have days that I can sleep in. So it's like I'll usually go like 3 or 4 weeks and then be at my wit's end and be like, okay, I just have to not schedule anything tomorrow morning and just take this and pass out, and then I feel like rested the next day.
You do a sleep catch up. Yeah,
but it's like, imagine, do you know how fucking great I would be at everything if I was just I would have like figured out this COVID thing 3 months ago. Everybody would have been fine.
Yep.
I would be fucking nonstop.
Yeah.
That's like
I think that all the time. The few times I actually have gotten like a full, like I do that too, where I won't sleep for like 2 or 3 months, and then I'll sleep 18 hours one night. Like I'll sleep like I won't have the kids, and then I'll just sleep all day. And then the next day be like, is this what people feel like? Is this the energy people are walking around with?
Yeah.
I would do so many things.
I don't think I like reached ever. I don't think I like still reach like 100% capacity. Like I'm just like way better than other times.
Yeah.
But in college, I used to do that shit where I would like, I think my condition got worse as I got older. But in college, I would like stay awake for like 30 hours, 48 hours doing like finals and all that shit. Come home, sleep for like 20.
Yeah.
And then my parents were like, something's wrong with her. And I'm like, don't wake me. I would do that, and I would watch like the Kardashians just to like fully destroy my brain.
Yeah.
And my parents were like, "What is she doing at that school? Is she still doing this there?" Like,
melatonin is funny stuff because I take that occasionally, but I have to be very careful with it. It seems ridiculous. Like I'm a person who like when I was before I had kids, I did a lot of hallucinogens, and I have done like I was a blackout drunk. Like I've done a lot of drugs and stuff, but melatonin fucks me up. Like
fucks you up.
Yeah, and Alan Strickland Williams and I have talked about that too. About
I
how
love him.
I do too, and we've talked about how like it's the one drug that really like when I take it, it makes me so confused and foggy, and I fall asleep. Like you're talking to me, and I'm just like like yeah. I fall asleep immediately, and then if I like you said, if I don't get 8 hours of sleep, I'm a wreck the next day. Like,
yeah, you just like end up napping randomly, and
yeah,
it's so hard to stay awake. But that's like a lot of people, like scientists haven't found like how, like I guess the pattern of how it works with regular people. But I mean, there's like an effect on some portion of us. People say it might be placebo, but I think it's like, I don't know. I tend to be pretty skeptical about most things, so I feel like it's not.
Yeah.
But my friend in my master's program, he went and bought these brownies, and this was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and he was like, they said there were special brownies, and I looked at it and I was like, it's Pennsylvania. Weed is not just so. It's 2013. Weed is not sold in stores here like this. And I think it was a thing of him like being like, oh, they're special, and then the person's like, it's just brownies with some stuff in it. Yeah. Like I think he was like reading too much into it, and it turns out it was melatonin in it. And I was like, dude, it says melatonin. This is just gonna make you sleepy.
Yeah.
And he was like, I'll still try it. And he took it and went to a concert. He was like, I'm going to get fucked up on these melatonin like, you'll have any drug.
Yeah.
You'll have any drug at a concert. That's so funny.
I feel like that sounds like an amazing party where you like put on the Kardashians. Everybody has a melatonin brownie. We just have like a 2.5 hour nap together. It's just very soft music. I would love a melatonin brownie, honestly.
We need to bring back sleepovers.
Yes. That's one thing I miss about comedy is like it's the only time as an adult that you're just constantly doing sleepovers with people because you're just touring together and you're like at a festival and you're like, oh, do you want to share? Like I would always share rooms because I could, I was an adult with adult money, so I could afford a room. So I would always be like, who doesn't have a place to stay? And I would let like 3 comedians stay with me.
That's nice.
Because I before that had toured broke, and had been like, can I sleep on a part of your floor? So, but like, it was always so fun. I'm very lucky and very privileged and had like all of these like schooling experiences, and I have all these friends from undergrad, my master's and everything. So generally whenever I go anywhere, I have somebody who is nice. Who like works in tech and has an extra room, or like like sometimes it's like a couch or whatever, but I always feel like safe and comfortable, and they're like not crazy comedians, like, there's like some of them turn out to be like, one of them in Portland, a person that I stayed with turned out to be like fully like red pilled or whatever, like watching all the crazy YouTube videos. Oh wow.
Could not say Trump was a racist, and I found this out like after I'd stayed with them and like hung out with them, and like they were super supportive, and I'm like, have you seen my comedy? Like, why do you like me? But that wasn't a friend from undergrad, that was a friend from Utah. But in general, I'm like very lucky and I have that. But when I came to Boise, I didn't know anybody in Boise, so you had to hook me up.
Yeah.
I was like,
Where did you stay? Did you end up staying with one of us?
Yeah, it was, oh my God, I'm spacing on her name. Beth?
Oh, you stayed with Beth. That's right.
Beth.
Yeah, I love Beth.
Yeah,
That's lovely.
She's great.
Yeah. And she hosted a lot of people during all the different festivals. She loves doing that, so.
Anya was there too, because I couldn't find, I think you put me in last minute because I was dumb and like did prepare and like, didn't know anyone in Boise, but because I always do that last minute, because usually the city's like, I could just be like, yo, let me crash, and my friends are like, sure. But yeah, Anya was there, and that's how I met Anya Volz.
I love Anya. I have such a fierce admiration for her, because I think making the move to do comedy and sex work at the same time just seems like, I've watched a lot of the treatment she's received after that and have just been like, like, just as somebody who like talks about sex a lot in my comedy and has to deal with the repercussions of that, just knowing, I don't know, it's just the way I've seen her be treated. I'm like, this is brave as fuck. This is really.
Does she get treated that way by comedians or everybody?
I think more everybody. What I've seen is more like, people who started just from mine. So on my Patreon for 1 month, I did like sexy mom boudoir photos, like very unporn, soft lit mom photos. And just like the weird fallout I received from fans for that, who were like, not even fans, actually, just, I guess, more people who already hate you. So it doesn't even matter. Like, people would be like, oh, I hate your comedy. They would find something of mine, some tweet or whatever. And then they'd be like, looks like you offer, porn on your Patreon and because you're blah, blah, blah. And I would always be like, oh, thank you for the free promotion. But,
Yeah.
But yeah, I've just seen more people like that come after her, probably, who would have anyway. So.
Yeah, I think it's like, I don't know. I think, I am so awkward with my body. And I think it's so dope when I see other people who own it and like put it out there and everything, because I'm like, it makes me feel like I can do that too.
Yeah.
I mean, in theory, but like, but it's so cool when they do that, and it's valid work as anything else is. But I can't imagine the backlash she's getting, because I also just say things about sex, and then men think that they can do whatever the fuck they want, and they also still follow you. I think what you were saying about people who hate you, like, they'll hate follow you. And like, there's somebody who like responds to all of my shit, and I just blocked him the other day, because I'm like, every day I wake up and I have to see you just like bitch at me, and I'm just gonna block you because this is stupid. Like, why are you even following me? Go learn the piano or something,
Yeah, after I talked to Anya, and she was telling me, like, do it, start an OnlyFans. And she was telling me how much money she was making and how empowering it was and stuff. So I actually do have an OnlyFans, but it's invite only. And I haven't invited anyone yet. There's nobody I've been this is a real thing. I was like, oh, I'm going to do like a fun, because like, I have a little, like more than a little experience in like the BDSM world. And so I was like, oh, I'll do a fun little like a domination type thing. And I made it, and I was like, I'm just going to invite people. And so far I've been like, nobody gets to see me naked. Nobody deserves it. That's more I'm at these days.
Like nobody deserves it in the good way.
Oh yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
Okay,
I think
I'm the opposite sometimes. Like I have a fan house, fanhouse.app/Pallavi, everybody, and like a lot of people send like they'll send like sexier pics or whatever. They don't support, I don't think, like OnlyFans does, like actual like sexy pics, but like they find people to like DM with or whatever. And my pictures are all just like worse versions of my. I'm not selling this properly, but I do touch them up. But they're just like regular ass pictures that I would post on Instagram or whatever. But it's a way for people to like pay you for them, to support you for all the other shit that you've done. Plus, I like post just like exclusive videos of me ranting and and like jokes and other things. And I started DMing with people, and it's so funny to me because the people in my DMs are generally like respectful on there. And we just talk, like, they just want to talk to me about, like, science and, like, and entertainment. And, like, they're literally just paying me, like, $3 a DM to just have a conversation. And that's weird to me, but it has increased my self-esteem so much in, like, 3 days where, like, I have people who are DMing me on Twitter, and I'm like, I will not talk to you for less than $3 a DM. Like, it's so stupid.
No, I think that's great, because I think as a woman you're taught that like basically everything you do is worthless. And so being like this, which is I think part of the reason why OnlyFans makes so many men so mad is like, that's one of the reasons I stopped posting sexy stuff on Instagram, was I really was like nobody gets to see this for free anymore. Alex gets to see it for free, but even he has to edit my podcast. So, it's a trade, but that's awesome. And I think, I spent so much of my younger years really hating my body and just, and having it be for other people instead of for me. And now I feel like I'm really crazy about my body, and I really like it. And I feel like much more protective of like who gets to see it, So it's funny. I don't do a ton of Instagram stuff anymore, just because I'm kind of like, no. And it's funny. I have a Patreon, and I know you do too, right? Do you have a Patreon?
Yeah, I have a Patreon, but I've just been on Fan House more.
Yeah,
it's just like way easier because you can send like locked messages and stuff rather than have to do tiers and like rewards and all this other shit. It's like just pay me for interaction, or pay me for pictures, or pay me for something that's very easy to accomplish.
That seems like a good way to do it. I've given away so much for free that my Patreon's all donation based now, because I kind of feel like if you've been paying attention, you'll notice I've given everybody everything for free for the last decade. So, and did all these festivals and all this work for the community, and it's like, if you noticed, kick me $5. Thank you so much.
It means so much. Like every like $20 or whatever somebody pays you for a picture, it like means like a lot. It like helps pay rent. It's an hour less of work I have to do per day. It's like, and we spend so much time on Twitter, on social media, making podcasts. We put so much shit out there. It's like, this is back pay. This is like why people are like, why do celebrities get paid a lot? And a lot of celebrities should not get paid as much as they do. But capitalism is the main problem. But it's a lot of the reason that they get paid a lot is not for the acting. It's for like the 10 years of auditions. Right? That they didn't get paid for, that they put money in themselves to do,
Yeah.
So that I'm starting to feel like better about. And like, I feel a lot better, not just because of the Fan House stuff, but in comedy in general. I'm like, I'm starting to get paid for my work, for writing jokes. This is incredible.
Yeah. It's a good feeling.
So, it is good. But it's also like so funny because you're just like, okay, what's the next thing? I got to make another move.
Yeah.
So it's like you start feeling more valuable, but then you're like, I got to keep going. I can't let this stagnate.
Yeah, COVID has been sort of interesting for me because it's like finally a decade's worth of work paid off for me. And I hadn't been making, I've been making
a living. You had been making the virus in the lab, and you were ready to release it.
Finally.
And finally,
I was like,
you took over in your little cellar.
I've got my tiny mold cellar I've been growing things in. Well, I finally like, I mean, I'm not making money or anything, but like Patreon is paying, my rent right now. Shout out to
nice.
Alexander. Thank you, honey. I have like a couple people who really just get, and I feel like Patreon for me has been so important right now. Because I'm not doing comedy and I have no, like you said, maybe I'm going to join Fan House because I have no other source of validation artistically right now. And if people weren't still hanging out on the Patreon and kind of being like, we get it, we know you're still here and doing things, I would be so depressed.
No, that's what like Twitter is for me. It's like, or like any of these social media things. I like literally like open my phone to be like, hit me with that serotonin, baby. I know what I'm here for. Like I literally just do that. It's so hard because I'm also like very strict about quarantine, so I'm not doing these like underground backyard outside, like even outside shows. I'm like, they're asymptomatic and nobody social distances. Like nobody. I've seen your pictures that you post. Everybody's hugging in masks.
Just a reminder to our listeners that you are a biomedical engineer, and if you're like, hey, don't do those things, they should listen to you.
Dude, early on in the pandemic, I was messaging people. I was like, this is serious. Like, I know you don't trust the CDC. Trust me. Like, I worked in infectious diseases. I'm seeing what they're saying. It seems like it's bad. Don't do your show. I messaged this guy this thing, and he was like, in the same sentence, he was like, I'm going to keep doing my show in the basement of this restaurant because, like, not more people are going to come out than would already be there or something. And then at the end of the sentence, he still was like, hi, you're, like, the smartest person I know. And I'm like, then fucking listen to me. Like, what cognitive dissonance is this? You only use scientists for when it works for you?
Yeah, like, for Viagra.
Yeah. I don't know. It was frustrating. And I lost a lot of friends. I burned a lot of bridges because I was trying the different things of like yelling, being nice, whatever. Like, but just to get them to stop, because this is not like something to fuck around with. And now I can't because like so many people are like, a lot of even close friends are doing these outdoor shows and they know how I feel about it. So we just like don't talk about it, but it's like, it's painful to watch the cases rise. And I'm working on like a ventilator project and like looking at the cases. And like yesterday I was talking to another nonprofit who's also working on stuff like this, and their British Columbia doctors are just showing me the spikes there. It's spiking everywhere. And I'm like, guys, stop posting on Instagram about how you're doing an outdoor show tonight. I know that it's like, it's a decrease in risk and stuff than being indoors, but like, just do everything you can. Like, you don't know. The problem, this taught me, like, really, really do not trust the actions of other people. So if you encourage other people to do something, like, they might do it bad, Like, you can't control what the fuck other people are doing. Like, you can say, like, everybody get tested and come to this thing, but, like, if they don't, and somebody passes it, what are you going to do? You can't do anything.
I think, people have been kind of like, because a lot of the comedians we know are of a certain age, and so they're like, well, it's not going to affect me. Like, there's a comedian here who was not in Idaho, but like in the West, who had just had a special come out and he was promoting it, and he did a party. He did a release party, and he sent me like pictures of it, and he was asking if I would promote, the show essentially. And I was like, are you out of your mind? And he's like, I'm not worried about it. I'm like, it's not you don't have to be worried about it. You can worry about being asymptomatic and spreading it to 1,000 people from your stupid little event.
It's also like, I'm trying not to be bitter, but like the first 3 months I was like, I was very anxious and upset because it was just like watching everybody not care in real time. And a lot of them who cared the least were white people. Like, they would do the things they wanted to do. And it's like with all my black friends, like, they're dealing with other shit going on right now, and they're going to protests and they're doing all this work to help their people. And it's like a lot of my white friends did go to the protests, but I don't know if they did it because they wanted to hang out or if they want, you know what I mean? Like, it made me feel weird that they weren't doing all they could while at the protests to socially distance or like be careful. Like, that bothered me. I'm like, this is work. This is not fun. This is,
I saw that at the protest here, where I'm like, if you're down here and you're not wearing a mask, you're an asshole.
Fuck you.
You're
like
just
this is affecting black people more than you.
Yeah.
So what are you doing? What kind of ally are you? But I don't know. I bitch about this on every podcast, but it's still happening. I still see white people. Like I have people who I know that didn't want to talk about politics or like the election or anything, and most of them were white. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I wonder why that is. Like, I wonder why you're not aware of all of the rights being taken away right now. You know,
and that you're like not that concerned with the virus that disproportionately kills black and brown people. Oh, interesting that you're not that worried about it.
Yeah.
It's so there's no segue into the second question, but I'm just gonna jump in like there was a good segue.
Do it. Cher wouldn't need segues. Cher would just dive right in.
She would. You're right. Cher would just confidently
mid sentence she'd switch topics.
She would. She'd be like, enough about that. So I'm curious to know, like we talked about your near-death experience and we're kind of talking about COVID and stuff. And I know for me, COVID has brought up like a huge amount of anxiety and a ton of stuff. But like, what is your relationship with death? Like are you comfortable with your mortality?
Release of death. Okay, I have a very complicated relationship with it. I'm an atheist. I think once you're dead, you're dead. I think the moment before you die is going to be lit because of all the neurotransmitters going off, and I just hope I'm conscious enough to have a party in my head for like 20 seconds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't think that there's like souls or I don't think any of that. I think you're dead, you're dead. Take all my organs, give them to other people. Do not give anything to the bodies exhibit. They're pieces of shit. But so that's how I feel about it. I've also had a lot of friends kill themselves in like college, and then I was like, science, very suicidal, misogynist. Let's go into comedy. So it's just been a constant thing. I also suffer from like I'm honestly like in a severe depressive bout right now. So I'm like trying to get a therapist and stuff, but so I have like a lot of issues with it. And I remember when I was a kid, I was at my cousin's place and her mom was there, and her mom had like, my uncle had died when his kids were like 16 and 14 or something like that. So he left a widow, and I remember she was talking to my dad, and I was like, I don't know, like 10 or 11. So this was like years later after he'd passed, and she was looking back on her life, and she was like, you know, if I had the opportunity to live it all again, do it again, I wouldn't. And I was like a kid, and I was like, what? Doesn't every experience mean something? And isn't it cool? Even if it's bad, you're learning and blah, blah, blah. And then I don't know when it happened, but at some point I was like, I get it, bitch.
Yeah.
Like, I am tired. Like, I understand why this would be hard to do again.
Yeah.
Like, it feels so short and also so long sometimes. Mm-hmm. And so I was, when I was doing the intake with a therapist, it's really hard to describe because, like, I can't kill myself. That's not an out for me. It's hack. All my friends have done it. Like, I can't do it at this point. I've seen the outcome. I've seen, like, the devastation. And I know I couldn't do that to even people who just wanted to post a picture of me with them on Instagram. Like,
yeah.
I'm still not going to do, I'm not going to let those people have it for the clout. Yeah, so, like, it's just not an option for me. But I very much sometimes I'm like, I just wish I didn't exist. Like, it's so painful, depression sometimes, like being in your mind. And sometimes it's just all pain. Or sometimes it's just you don't feel anything, and that's terrifying. Mm-hmm. Like, to not feel good or bad about anything is like looking back, it's scary as fuck because you could do anything. It's like those kids who don't have like a sensation for like heat or like pain in their nerves, and then they could like put their hand on a hot stove for hours and just destroy themselves and not feel anything. And that's what it feels like in my head sometimes, where I'm like, this is too much power for me. Like, I could fully, you know. So, but it's hard to explain that to people. It's like, I don't want to do anything to end my life sometimes, but sometimes it's too much, sometimes it's overwhelming. So I also think, like, you know, I want to like stick around and experience things and try to help, and not like, you know, because society just sucks, and I feel like I could sometimes I'm like, I could make this better, or maybe I don't know. I need to like fight for it or something.
But I know that's like supposed to be the work that drives you, you know, as a human. A lot of times it's like, okay, but your time on earth is meant to be selfless and to better the world for the next people, you know. And even as a parent, I'm sometimes like, that's a bad system. That's stupid.
Yeah, it sucks that it has to be that. Do you know how much like time and energy like we would everybody was complaining about real hoverboards, and it's like, if you bitches just weren't racist, this shit would have happened years ago. If you fuckers weren't misogynist or homophobic, we would be fucking jetpacking to each other's Batman tubes every day, you sons of bitches.
God, you're so right.
Yeah, man, if we didn't expend all this energy on bullshit, it's so much energy. It's most of my energy is like expending it on like tweeting about this shit, having it happen to me, like seeing it in the world, the violence and the hate. It's like, imagine if we could just focus on like a coronavirus, or, you know, like some, like nature is already trying to kill us, dude. Like, why don't we band together?
Yeah, it's us against nature. I don't think people get that.
Yeah, fight the environment. No. But I mean, like, you know, Alzheimer's, cancer, like there's all this other shit that we could put our energy towards, and like, people make it their life's work to be in hate groups, and I'm like, that's passion. That's a lot of passion. I don't know if I felt that passionate about something that I would lose all reason and just be like, I'm just gonna hate this thing for no reason, as a career choice. Like, that's wild.
That's what like Stephen Miller did. Stephen Miller was like, my life's work is to hurt brown people, and he like just very openly, you know, very
accomplished in that. His resume for hating brown people
really
filled. Truly filled.
Truly, for sure. Well, so were you raised at all with like an afterlife, like the idea? So you just believe in death afterlife, but were you raised with any afterlife?
I grew up, I always say my family is Hindu by culture, but atheist by intelligence. So I grew up in a family where we went and learned at Pallavi, which is school for the children. We learned Hinduism in this like Catholic high school because we didn't have a place to learn. So we'd go in on Sundays and they'd like let us like use their facilities to learn. And my atheist father, who grew up learning Hinduism and also went to Christian masses with his Christian friends in India and like knew all about different religions, would teach me Hindu mythology. Like, he was my like the teacher from like my oldest class or whatever there, as I got older. And so I learned all of that stuff, and like temple is where you went for, to me, like food and dancing, and like all of the, you know, like all of the different events happened at temple. Once we had a temple. For a while, it was just a dude's basement because it was Utah, and like there weren't that many people there. But like eventually we got a little temple. But so like we celebrate. It's very cultural. I think I often compare it to like how Jewish people are often like culturally Jewish, but don't necessarily adhere to all of the strict religious things. But then like around 13, I remember my dad, like I got a little temple. I got really addicted to doing puja and stuff because I'd go to India and I would do it with the worshiping the gods like daily or whatever, or you know, there's specific pujas for different events too. But it's like a ceremony. And so I got kind of addicted to it because it was like you light incense and you like change their little outfits and you like give them, you know, like like all the little idols. And I got addicted to it because I would do it in India with my aunt. And then I would come back and I had a little temple in my house, like a small one, and I would do it there. And my dad walked by one time and he was like, idol worship. And I got so mad because I was like, what the fuck? This is intolerant and blah, blah, blah. And then later, when my friend passed away in college because he killed himself, I was like at a Catholic funeral, and it was so first of all, he didn't want a religious funeral, but it was for the family, you know, they had lost a young child, so it was, you know, obviously to make them feel better. And so we all went, we flew out, and it was so weird. There was like an Indian priest with an accent, which I was not expecting to find, which is racist of me. And he kept mixing up my friend's name with his little brother's, because his little brother looks a lot like him. Oh, wow. So he was saying the name of the little brother who was sitting in the front row of the church, and he just kept fucking up. And then he kept saying, like, oh, he's in heaven dancing with Jesus. And I was like, you think suicide is a sin, dude?
Yeah.
Like, in your religion. I don't know much about it, but that I know that I looked it up before coming here. Like,
yeah.
and so it just felt like so weird. I remember like looking down at my hands and being like, because I from 13, you know, when I aged out of Bala Vihar until that moment, I just didn't think of religion anymore. Like, I stopped doing the pujas, I stopped doing whatever. But in that moment, I like looked down at my hands and I was like, he's not dancing in heaven with Jesus. He's dead. I'm an atheist. Like, I was like, oh, Catholic Church convinced me I don't believe in God. And I didn't even go to Catholic school. Like, that's usually the case. But so then after that, I started reading, like, all of, like, Chris Hitchens and Dawkins and all of these, like super atheist people, and I got all radicalized, and I was like, people need to know there's no God. And then I was like, calm down. Like, they don't need to know that. You don't need to tear people's, moral structures down as it gives them, if it just gives them comfort or whatever. But after that, I was like, oh, there's nothing after. And I had struggled with that in high school, being around Mormons, and I would always be like, but what if you just don't believe? Like, doesn't God know? Like, why would, if you don't, like, what if you tried to marry someone and you fell in love with them and you had to convert them because they weren't Mormon? Like, would you do that? And they were like, yeah. And I'm like, but what if they just don't believe? Like, what if they don't have faith? Like, wouldn't it be cheating? And they were like, like, they didn't know how to answer it either. So, yeah, I always kind of, like, I learned all the Hindu things, had that, kind of fell off with it, and then just realized I was atheist. And I want to say, like, agnostic, because, like, truly we don't know. But just part of me is like, I kind of feel like it's not a thing. You know? Like, I'm very, like, science-y based. So I'm like, if I don't... I mean, I'm sure there's stuff outside that, like, there's always stuff that we're discovering. But I feel like with infinite time and knowledge and tools and whatever, we'd be able to figure out a lot of things. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's
interesting because, like you said, if we solve racism, we solve sexism, and we put all of our energy, what I feel like we should be doing as a society is putting our energy into answering that question: what happens after we die? And
really?
I mean, there's a lot of other things, obviously, but like, I don't understand why. As it's because we've put so much energy into the mythology around it. You know, like if you think about how much energy, like you said, a Catholic mass, Hinduism, every religion has a huge amount of time and energy invested into their particular mythology, or whatever they want to call it, if they consider it true. I have always thought, like, man, it's too bad that we don't spend a whole lot of time together collectively trying to figure out the big stuff, instead of...
But that feels like science to me. That's why I'm always like, let's put this into science. But I also understand, like, I watch fucking TV shows to comfort me, and that's not me putting that time into science.
For sure.
Everybody needs to, like, have their thing, so I'm like, you have that, I have, like, Batman or whatever, like, we all have our things to comfort us, but, like, it's beyond that. It's like when you use it for harm, it's like, wow, that is so much more energy than you need. Like, you're not just doing it to make yourself feel sane in this crazy world. Like, you're doing it to inflict harm on people. Channel that elsewhere. Like, what are you doing? Also, like, converting people really bothers me, because I'm like, people, it's so, I don't know, I might get in trouble for saying this, but I feel so arrogant to fucking think that it feels so arrogant to be like, I've literally had people, like, say shit about, like, saving souls and stuff, and it's like, what about yours? Like, you don't know. What makes you know? How could you have that much confidence? I don't have that much confidence in anything I've ever seen or done. Like, maybe science. But that's, like, repeatable, like, reproducible. But and then they do that with, just to, like, wash away people's cultures, and, like, the person who got hit or killed with an arrow when he tried to, like, go to that island and converts people, I'm like, yeah, bitch. Good. You would have brought so many diseases, you dumb shit. Like,
Then it's always a story of, like, people who are living fairly harmoniously, who are very comfortable with their nudity and their sexual lives, and then white Christians come in and go, like, nope, nobody's gonna have fun with this anymore. It's gonna be real uptight now.
I will never forgive the fucking Brits for covering up Indian titties. Like, I think the Mughals or whatever, like, they looked at the Victorian styles and were like, let's give them blouses. Saris used to just have the pallu, like the thing that goes over your shoulder, and then the titties were free. And then they were like, no, put those titties away.
That's amazing. There's nothing better feeling than having your titties out, like on a sunny day.
Yeah.
I'm so jealous that men get to do that.
Literally in a group chat, I was like, I got to do this podcast. I'm seriously considering if I should put on underwear. And I didn't wear a bra. I did not wear a bra, but I did put on underwear.
Oh, thank
I was
you.
like, I'm on my bed. I don't want to flash puss when I'm shifting. I'm gonna shift and flash puss. So
I'm also not wearing a bra, but I before COVID didn't wear a bra or underwear very often.
I was starting to go down that path.
It's just so much extra work.
It's a lot. I also feel better. Like, one thing that I've noticed with my depression is, like, I feel way better the nights that I, like, sleep fully naked.
Oh, yeah.
It's so comforting.
Yeah.
And it just feels better. I don't know if it's, like, endorphins or something.
I sleep fully naked now because of my night terror stuff before. I would always sleep fully clothed. And then now, finally, after, like, I'm finally able to sleep naked, and it is great. I see why people do it. It's so comfy. You just feel so free.
I usually do it when I'm, like, in a relationship or something, because it's just, like, fun to be naked with somebody.
Yeah, it is pretty nice.
But like, sometimes I forget when I'm by myself that it's, like, an option. Or if, like, you have roommates and I, like, go pee a lot in the middle of the night. And so I'm like, But sometimes you just gotta get your last pee in and then get naked and then swaddle yourself in bed like a grown baby.
It's the perfect thing. Well, this is the last question, but so it sounds like you had a lot of ritual when you were a kid. Do you think that is important for people to have that kind of ritual that sort of connects you to a higher power and to, like, the afterlife? Do you think that's important? And if so, do you have anything like that now? Do you have any sort of beyond the Kardashians?
Yeah. I don't watch them now. My brain's already melted from this country. I don't know. So here's the thing. I do think that, like, when you say ritual, I don't think necessarily you need something to connect you to, like, a higher power or something outside this life. I do think that sometimes it's easier when people find their passion or their purpose. Like, but there are also people who I've seen don't know what they want to do, and they're existing and they're fine. You know, they're, like, happy. They're content, right? And it's not necessarily their passion, but they're fine with their situation. So it's, like, really hard for me to say that there's something that some people should or shouldn't do. Because I think everybody has something different for themselves. I am aware that generally it's healthier to have, like, more regular habits. Like, I've seen that in myself and others, but don't ever tell my dad that I said that, because he's been telling me since I was a kid, and I'm like, fuck you, I'm a creative.
Yeah.
Even when I was not a creative, I was like, this is my process, man. But, like, I do think that, I don't know, going to nature every once in a while, going on a walk, like, those things have been, like, for me, having something regular sometimes, like, makes me feel a little bit better. Even, like, I'm gonna just be straight honest, like, it's, like, hard for me to brush my teeth some nights because I'm so depressed. I'm like, I cannot get the energy to, like, do that for myself, and I know it's because I am not valuing myself enough in that moment, but it's also, like, an energy thing. But, like, the nights that I do that comforts me. Yeah. The nights that I'm able to brush my teeth and even use mouthwash, I'm like, get it, bitch. Like, you care about yourself. This is empowerment.
Yes.
Like, wash your face, queen. Like, I like, so things like that. There's some, like, things that you physically do, cooking for yourself, like, that kind of gives you more value, gives you more purpose. Like, it's different for different people what these things are. But I do think it, like, things that take you out of your mind, are for your body, or invest in yourself, connect you or ground you to other people. Like, those things help. And if they're regularly in your life, I think it alleviates a lot of, like, the stress and the tension. Yeah,
I watched a thing today that David Lynch was saying he keeps an exact routine because he feels like then it frees up his creative mind. If he knows that he does this at 10 a.m., at noon he eats lunch at this exact place, the same thing, it frees up his mind, the rest of his mind, to be creative. And I was like, that is probably exactly what I need, as somebody who's always just, like, you know, sometimes I'm better now that I've gotten older, but I'll be like, oh, it's 4. Did I eat yet? I haven't had breakfast. Like I've always been really bad at like normal self-care stuff like that.
Yeah, me too.
And flossing is my big one. Flossing is my thing. If I do that at night, I'm like, you're killing it. You're an adult.
Oh my God. But I love flossing. So I'll floss and like not brush my teeth. Like I have floss like around me at all times. If I run out, I like freak out. I'm like, it's like your phone battery dying. You're just like, whoa. Yeah. But I think that like the timeline thing, I can't do it. I just can't. There's no way I could be David Lynch for many reasons, but mostly the schedule.
yeah, for many reasons, for sure. Yeah, I feel like it would help me, but I would almost need like someone else to set it and be like, here's your sandwich. It's 12:15.
That's what rich people do.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they have the luxury of putting out banger after banger because of everyone that's on their team. And a lot of people had to work their way up to get there. But like if I had a fucking chef, like, oh, it'd be over for you hoes. I couldn't even get through that sentence. That's how depressing it is. It would be over for you hoes if I had a chef. I'm going to brush my teeth after this just to gain back some confidence.
Yeah, I feel like when the kids are here, like when they're here, I'm really pretty good because I have to be as a mom. You have to be just like,
yeah, you just have to show
up.
I'm
cooking, I'm cleaning. That's what we're doing. And then when they're not here for a few days, I'm like, I just lay around. I'm usually still kind of busy, but I just like do not take care of myself at all just because I'm like so tired of taking care of everybody. So I'm just like, nobody's brushing teeth. I'm not eating. Nothing matters. I had cookie dough for lunch. Who cares?
That's like I had an older dog who passed away at the beginning of quarantine, and like he had so many pooping accidents, and it was like I still wanted him to be in the bed with me, so I'd have to put like all these sheets underneath the pads underneath him, and like I'd have to take him downstairs multiple times, and like it was like to take him out, and it was just like a lot of, I was doing laundry, his laundry, my laundry when he had accidents on me, like so many times. And it was hard because like, then it was harder for me to clean do the regular stuff for the rest of the apartment. I'm sorry, I'm comparing my dog to your kids. That's not the same. No. But
I've had an incontinent dog and that is a full-time job.
It's just like, it's a lot of work and like, but simultaneously like, yeah, I did it because I had to, because it made me feel good to do something for this creature that I love. But beyond that, it was really hard to do anything extra. But I am thinking about getting like a foster dog or something, because it does give you something to get up for.
Yeah.
And like and I was depressed. I've had depression, on and off since I was a kid. So like when I had him, I would be severely depressed, and I would come home and I'd be like, I have my doggy. Like, like there's still like that bright piece of hope
and there. They kind of know. I'm sorry about your dog. I feel like I've heard so many people's dogs died during quarantine, like a weird amount, and cats too.
It was a lot. Yeah,
it seems like I like almost every day I see somebody posting about it on Instagram. And I first of all, when we have a very old dog, when he dies, I will be a wreck because he's been my best buddy for over a decade, and I'll just be I don't even know, because he kind of like he rounds out my day, like I get up with him, we go outside together, we walk the yard together, it's like we have he's like kind of my little buddy.
That's ritual.
Yeah, that's ritual. I guess that's true.
Yeah, I love that kind of rituals with a pet. And yeah, they're your person. If he was my person, like I got really defensive through stand-up and like stopped investing emotionally as much in people because I was backstabbed and crazy people and all this stuff. And like I poured all of my love and affection into him, and I knew he was going to pass. I got him when he was 14. I was every 3 months I was like, he's dying, like with some new shit. But you just bond closer. He gets sicker, you bond closer because he has less to communicate with you with. Like as his mind started to go, like even that was how you had to figure him out in new ways, and you just learn to communicate without a language, without like without being able to say a command or whatever. And that just makes you closer. You're just like, this is a part of my soul, even though I don't believe in souls. Like this is like, if I did, this would be part of it. But yeah, I don't know. It's now that you say that, I think pets have played a huge role in my like ritual and mental health. I think.
Yeah. Well, I hope you get a foster. I think that I like that. I think so too. I like that for you.
I also like that.
Yeah, I like it. Well, thank you so much for doing the podcast. Why don't you promote all your stuff? Tell us all the places people can send you money.
Yes. I'm Pallavi Gunalan everywhere. That's PALLAVIGUNALAN. So that's my Twitter, my Instagram, my TikTok. My YouTube is Pallavi Gunalan Comedy, I think. YouTube.com/that. And then I've been on Fanhouse a lot. Fanhouse.app/Pallavi, PALLAVI. And you can subscribe. Right now it's at $5 a month. I might bump it if I add more content or get more confidence. But I'm on there. I post stuff that I don't post to Twitter. I don't post to Instagram. And so there's like a wall that's only the people on Fanhouse can see. But then also you can like DM me. And I can like send out stuff to people individually that's not even on the wall. So like the sooner you join, the more shit you get.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how you can pay me.
Good.
But also just get like 3 of your friends to follow me.
Yeah.
And unfollow white people.
There, you can unfollow me and follow her, and I think that's the way to go.
Not Emma.
Well,
not Emma.
I think that you're so funny and so talented, and I really appreciate you talking to me. This has been great. This has been super fun.
Thank you. I always am afraid that I talk too much because I do, but like I appreciate you listening.
No, I love it.
Like inviting me on.
I feel like I miss the comedy hang so much, that it's been really nice to like, catch up with people and see people, and I don't know. And also I've always been kind of more of a listener anyway. This is why I've fought having a podcast for so long. And then once I had one, I was like, oh, this makes so much sense. Cause I'm always like, tell me everything. Oh my God. Like I just love to know about people.
Like
so
the juice.
Yeah.
I also feel like a homeschooled kid right now. I'm like, I want to talk to I don't know how to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Like before I was pretty bad. Like I was pretty loud and like I had to be the center of attention anyways. But now it's like I don't even have the checks in my head that I had to develop over time to communicate with people. Like that's gone now.
Yeah.
So now I'm just like spewing at people. And I'm always like 3 hours later I'm like, fuck, I talk too much.
Yeah, I feel like I've had a couple of times that like I've had like an in-person like walk with somebody. I felt like, okay, so sorry, I just talked the whole time and I told you all my feelings. But
yeah.
Well, thank you so much for doing this. You guys, thank you for listening to What's Next with Emma Arnold. Tune in next week when our guest will be, I don't know, Alex, you have to put this in here.
Arlo Warehouser.
And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yay!